young boy named Ark Wraitheft. When Ark was 6 years old, memories of some man he'd never seen before flowed into his mind, from his life to his death. When he awoke, he retained memories of what he had seen: airplanes, cars, computers, physics, and indoor plumbing. A tear streaks down Ark's cheek, though if this was for the man who died or because he missed the world he saw, he doesn't know. Ark's servants enter his room to bring him his breakfast, but they rudely and carelessly toss the tray onto his bed, spilling its contents. They smugly refer to him as the former successor. Ark retains his composure in such a hostile environment. What they say is true. He is the former successor. The country he lives in is built on magic. He comes from a venerated house of sorcerers known as the Wraithefts. Thus, it is common sense for the head of the house to possess a great amount of magic power. Because he was the eldest child, people expected him to succeed the family. However, a few days ago, when they measured his magic power, they discovered he possessed no more power than that of a commoner. Ark, desperate to succeed, tried to ask for one more chance, but his father heartlessly slaps him in the face and declares that he will disinherit him. From that point on, Ark is deemed a useless piece of trash. Ark was disqualified by default. Moreover, no matter how many ancient texts and magical tomes he reads, he is unable to boost his magic power. Even with the knowledge of a 20-year-old Japanese college student, he struggles to find a way out of the hole he's found himself in. His little sister, Lesha, finds him in the library. Lesha asks Ark to play with him, though he asks her if she really wants to, given that she must have been told to stay away from him. Lesha admits that their mother told her not to go near him, but nevertheless, she wants to play with him. Ark agrees to play with her. Lesha still treats Ark the same way as before, and she has become his only light and salvation in these trying times. However, when his parents discover them together, they quickly drag her away. Ark tries to explain that Lesha isn't at fault, but they already knew that. They blame Ark, and they punish him by kicking him to the ground and beating him up for going near Lesha. His father snarls that his incompetence might rub off on her. Ark is given a thorough beating right in front of the servants and his own mother. They tell Ark that the next time something like this happens, they'll make him a target for magic practice. Ark keeps his head low and apologizes. He picks himself up and trudges back to his room, all while enduring the harsh verbal lashings from the house servants. Many think that he'd be better off being kicked out of the house. Ark makes it back to his room and tries to steady his shaking hands. He's endured much today, but he finds solace in the fact that the Japanese man he has memories of must have endured even more. He tries to recall the man's life growing up, and though they were both tormented, there was one stark difference. The boy's parents loved and supported him unconditionally. Seeing this stark contrast between the familial love he actually received is too much for him to bear. He starts weeping uncontrollably, and the sounds of his cries could likely be heard throughout the hallway. Seeing how the boy fought back against his tormentors gives Ark the courage and determination he needs. He picks himself up and swears to become a sorcerer and prove his parents wrong, once again proving that the greatest driving force behind success is to spite someone else. Ark throws himself into his studies more than ever before, and he obtains a keen grasp on magic. The world contains something called the ancient arts. This whole page is really long, but in a nutshell, magic is invoked using a specific order of words, which are each individually filled with magic to attain a desired effect. Messing up the order or inputting an incorrect amount of magic may cause the spell to misfire. Ark's main problem now is that he lacks the knowledge to do either, and he doubts that anyone would be willing to teach him. He suddenly hears the house servants giving someone a warm welcome, and he pokes his head outside to check out what's going on. He spots a friendly face, Uncle Clave. Clave joins Ark and Lesha for tea. His friendliness and easygoing attitude make him easy to get along with. Clave is the brother of Josh, Ark's father. Just like Ark, Clave was disinherited by the Wraitheft family for lacking magical power. However, through sheer effort, he was able to make a name for himself on the battlefield, and now his own abilities are said to exceed those of Josh's. Ark hopes that maybe Josh can stand up to his father. Josh enters the room to receive his brother, but when he sees Ark sitting next to Lesha, he becomes hysterical. He immediately raises a hand to strike his own son, but Josh is quick to put a stop to him. Clave demands to know why Josh is committing domestic violence, and Josh explains that Ark is no longer the rightful heir to the family. Lesha is. Clave gets the gist of the situation, and he tries to convince Josh to be more reasonable. He deems it a little hasty to disinherit Ark, who is just 6 years old. However, Josh is firm in his belief that further magical growth is impossible. Incompetence is not tolerated within the Wraitheft house. Clave scratches his head, and he asks his stubborn brother if he still remembers what their father's last words were. Josh clenches his fist and insists that this and that are completely unrelated. To him, Ark is nothing more than a piece of unwanted trash on the level of a stray dog. Clave, unable to tolerate further abuse towards Ark, asks Josh if he really wants to continue saying such words to his own son. Taking advantage of the lull in the conversation, Ark asks Clave if he is willing to teach him about magic. Clave prevents Josh from interfering, and he tells Ark to continue. Ark shows his unyielding resolve to learn from Clave, having found the determination to go forward. Clave sees the spark in his eyes, and he is impressed by what he sees. Josh is livid. He thinks that Ark is doing this to shame the family out of spite, but Ark retorts that if he proves that he isn't incompetent, then no shame will befall the Wraithef family. Clave gives out a hearty laugh, seeing how Ark has driven his father into a corner. Clave asks Josh if he brought him or his father shame through his achievements. Clave formally accepts Ark as his own pupil, promising to transform him into a first-rate soldier. Ark enthusiastically enters his service, though Clave warns that he is a harsh and strict teacher. With that family drama out of the way, Clave immediately begins some outdoor classes. Ark's enthusiasm hasn't dried up in the slightest. Clave, seeing that Ark already has the basic knowledge down pat, immediately moves straight into a demonstration. Clave begins channeling magic into his palms, which quickly turn bright white as heat rapidly gathers within. He unleashes a blazing lance at the target dummy, giving Ark his first taste of magic in the flesh. Ark watches in awe as the practiced dummy burns. Clave walks over to Ark and gives him a proper lesson on how to manipulate his latent magical power. He touches a point on his stomach, and Ark focuses on the sensation of magic within. It is unlike a feeling of gas or liquid, but he can feel the magic swirling inside him nonetheless. Clave, satisfied by his proficiency, tells him to stop. He then demonstrates what is possible with potent magical control by detecting Lesh's magic on the 3rd floor of their house. It takes Ark a second to process what Clave had just done. Clave boasts that this is the new magic detection method that he's discovered and that it's patent pending. Clave boasts that with this, he could even accurately determine the number of people in a given area. When Ark learns that his father isn't able to do this, he becomes even more determined to outdo him. Ark asks Clave if there is a predetermined amount of magic to place in a magic incantation. Clave is impressed that Ark has learned about that already, but he bluntly tells him that there's no secret formula. It's all intuition. Clave points out that since magic is inherently invisible and weightless, the best one can do is to hone their sense of magic. Ark is a bit intimidated by how complex magic is, but Clave tells him he's just at the tip of the iceberg. He tosses Ark several tomes, which makes the textbooks that Ark has been using seem like picture books. Clave explains that these books are known as the Indexes of Legendary Writings, 6 extremely powerful, ancient and enigmatic sets of text. However, no one actually knows if that is really the case. They have yet to be deciphered to completion. The chief offender is the tome titled Prophecy of Kraki, which is viewed as unintelligible. No one has any idea what its contents are. Clave encourages Ark to read these tomes and to heighten his understanding of the origin of magic. However, the books he's brought today are but a small fraction of the actual collection, and he'll have the rest brought on another date. Ark asks what would happen if he managed to decipher the texts, and Clave replies that his name would go down in history and he'd be remembered for centuries. The path ahead seems arduous, but Clave takes one look at his nephew's eyes and sees a burning fire in them. Clave promises his full support as long as the topic is about magic. Ark feels encouraged, and his dreams might be possible after all. Nothing could possibly bring his spirits down. Ark's spirits are down. A month has passed since he borrowed the text from Clave, but he is no closer to unlocking its secrets or expanding his own magical power. He's been repeatedly performing the magical stimulation technique that Clave taught him, but during one such exercise, he suddenly feels a burning sensation overcome him. He immediately stops, and he decides to just ignore the obviously dangerous thing that just happened. Noticing that it is already way past dark, he sets out in search of something to eat. Out in the hallway, he encounters his father. Josh notices that Ark is still studying magic, and he tells him that there is no way to increase the amount of magic power he has. Ark replies that a sorcerer's worth isn't solely based on their magic power, to which Josh responds by slapping him in the face. Ark is smacked so hard that he loses consciousness. Lesha discovers Ark later that morning, trying to stop the bleeding. Lesha apologizes to Ark for his miseries, and she blames herself for being appointed the successor. She wishes that they could get along together again and that everything would go back to the way it used to be. While Ark tries to console her, he realizes how naive he was to believe that things could be fixed just by proving his parents wrong. He'll get back at them someday. That someday arrives. 2 years later, Clave oversees what Ark has learned. Ark channels the magic building up inside his stomach and uses his feelings of hatred as a catalyst. With both hands outstretched, he unleashes a blazing flame Larun, magnitude stronger than the spell that Clave demonstrated for him before. Clave slowly claps his hands and congratulates Ark on a job well done. Ark turns around and thanks him for his guidance. A shopkeeper, pleased by the quality of engravings that Ark has given him, generously rewards him with some magic silver and the promised payment. Ark happily grabs the bag, looking forward to the shopkeeper's next request. Not only is Ark an up-and-coming sorcerer, he's also the newest wolf of whatever street they're on. Ark created something called glitter glass, a physical engraving of magical characters widely used in the kingdom's lighting and ignition sectors. Claves had suggested that he make glitter glass as a good way to make money. While turning around the corner, Ark bumps headfirst into a girl. Not even he is safe from romance cliches. The girl helps him up, but two people quickly show up looking for her. Assessing the situation, Ark aids the girl in seeking shelter. They hide behind large crates and wait for the men pursuing her to disappear. Not long after they leave, the girl breathes a huge sigh of relief. Ark asks her why they were chasing her, but she replies that she has no idea. She happily introduces herself as Sue, and Ark gives his name in return. After shaking their new acquaintanceship, Sue asks in which family he hails from. Ark is hesitant to say he is a Wraitheft, but he won't have to. Sue overhears their pursuers returning, and she leads Ark through the back alley. The two quietly make their way deeper and deeper into the alleyway, but they eventually hit a dead end. Ark tries to lead her away immediately, but they are too late. A man comes out of the shadows, revealing that he's been tirelessly searching for her all over the place. Ark quickly identifies that the man is using physical enhancement magic to augment his abilities, meaning that he is a sorcerer. Ark asks why he's trying to kidnap Sue, and he replies that kidnapping is an easy and surefire way to make money, especially when the child is cute and clever like Sue. He looks over Ark and remarks that he'll make a pretty good sum as well. With their backs to the wall, Ark recognizes that they're at positional disadvantage, but there is one silver lining. The kidnapper appears to be underestimating them because they are children. The kidnapper begins casting a spell, but before he can, Sue uses her own. As she continues her incantation, Ark quickly realizes that she is using an original spell. She casts Dye the Sky vividly, but the kidnapper is able to set up a barrier at the last second. Despite how hastily it was put together, the kidnapper emerges unscathed. He commends Sue for being able to craft an original spell at her age, but something of that level won't work on him. Ark knows why. The words and expressions she used in her spell were more attuned to the night, meaning it loses over half of its power during the daytime. The kidnapper is impressed that Ark knew that, and when he notices that Ark has silver hair, he reevaluates how much value he'd bring in. The kidnapper is now on guard after seeing that Sue is capable of magic. Sue tries to shame him for going all out against a pair of kids. Still, Ark thinks that he still has a chance. However, Sue isn't out of tricks just yet. She pulls out a dagger from her pockets, and she warns Ark to cover his ears. She begins chanting yet another spell, and this time, the kidnapper looks worried. He knows just how much magic is being gathered. Before he can counteract her spell, Ark acts first. He performs an incantation that attracts nearby gears, scrap metal, and discarded vodka bottles to form a gigantic scrap arm. The kidnapper taunts that the attack won't reach him, but that's only true if it remains static. Ark propels his arm forward, leading to the first recorded use of the rocket arm punch. The kidnapper is launched across the alley, making Ark's first combat a resounding success. Sue is about to say, "We did it," but Ark shuts her mouth because that's an obvious red flag. Sue asks him what he means, and he explains to her that saying something like, "We won" will make it so that they didn't actually win. Sue asks him where he found out about that strange magic, but he can't explain to her that he learned it from modern pop culture. Before Ark can turn his attention to the kidnapper that he most certainly killed, Sue excitedly asks him about the magic that he just performed. She'd never seen such an interesting and innovative spell before, and she bombards him with question after question after question. Sue seems to be a huge magic geek and a huge headache. Ark tells her that they first have to make sure that the kidnapper is either dead or incapacitated. Unfortunately for them, he's neither. The kidnapper bursts out of the rubble, seizes Ark, and holds him hostage. He then forces Ark's mouth shut, ensuring that he can't invoke any magic. He threatens to kill him if Sue attempts to do the same. Ark tries to wiggle his way free, but he can't, and he knows that Sue won't be able to make any moves either. He tries to search for a way out of this mess, and he remembers that hot spell that he used a few years ago. He uses the only magic he can do in this situation, and his abdomen suddenly emanates with an intense heat and bright light, prompting the kidnapper to drop him like it's hot. The kidnapper is suddenly hit by a powerful impact in his stomach, and Ark successfully wrests himself free. He lands a few feet away from Sue, who runs over to make sure that he's okay. The kidnapper, on the other hand, is sent blasting away for the second time in 5 minutes. This time, he's down for the count. Sue is impressed that Ark defeated him with a magical fart, but he insists that it wasn't that. While Sue pokes fun at Ark's magic, law enforcement finally arrives to take the kidnapper into custody. An officer interviews them for their account of the events, but when he says that they had a tough fight, Sue corrects him. Ark was the one who did all the heavy lifting. After being released, Sue and Ark head over to a fountain, where they formally introduce each other again. When she learns that Ark is from the prestigious and well-respected Wraitheft house, she is amazed. She rubs his cheeks, but she suddenly backs away and asks if he'll do the things nobles do and request payment in terms of her body. Ark asks her if she even knows what that means, and she replies that it has something to do with her organs being harvested. Something is seriously wrong with this girl. The two go out for some sandwiches while Sue asks Ark to teach her some magic. Ark tries to downplay his own ability and capability to teach, but Sue points out that he was able to use such incredible magic and pinpoint weaknesses in her own incantations. Noticing his reluctance, she suggests that they teach each other instead to ensure that there is some form of equivalent exchange. Ark agrees. Sue gets up and leaves, and she looks forward to her lessons with Ark. Using the special needed magical aids won there from his body, Ark is able to produce higher quality seals and engravings. While creating one to sell, Lesha surprises him from behind, causing him to drop his tools and the engraving itself. The resulting blast nearly causes Ark to fall from his seat, and a remorseful Lesha apologizes profusely. When Lesha sees the mess she's made, she offers to clean it up. While wiping the floors, she notices that Ark is carving a seal. Ark asks her if she's made any herself, and she replies that she's only started learning magic. She expects Ark to know dozens of spells by now, but he reveals that he only knows the basics. The flame Lauren that Clave taught him was hammered into his bones. Lesha finds this all very impressive, and Ark reassures her that she'll catch up in no time. As he prepares to cast a magic spell that will fix his workshop, he notices that Sorcerer's Silver, a material used for his engraving activities, seems to be expanding, a most curious property. He infuses them with the tiniest bit of magic, and he and Lesha observe them with a childlike curiosity. Ark tries to figure out what could have caused this reaction, and he wonders if it has something to do with the needed ether in his core. Ark uses some of his ether on the Sorcerer's Silver, causing them to expand greater than ever before. Ark initially dismisses this as nothing more than a novel reaction, but he realizes that the Sorcerer's Stones can be incorporated into a thermometer. Ark scrambles to his desk and starts penning a letter to Clave to request more materials. When Lesha asks him if he plans to make something, he replies that he'll make something she'll love. There's nothing 8-year-old girls love more than a thermometer. A few days later, Ark rushes to Clave's estate while a hapless maid tries to stop him. A scar-covered and very hungover Clave climbs out his bed, remarking that there better be a war going on. Ark has Clave's maid leave the room, hinting at the secrecy of what he's about to say. Clave does as he asks, and Ark shows him a curious thermometer-like device. Clave eyes the contraption curiously as Ark demonstrates its use. He releases a small amount of ether near the device, causing the fine-ground Sorcerer's Silver inside it to bubble up. It takes Clave a moment before he has a spark of realization. Ark confirms his suspicions. It's a device that can accurately measure ether. This is a huge discovery, but that's not the only thing that's huge. Ark asks Clave to cover up. After dressing up, Clave and Ark discuss the ether thermometer. Clave is glad to learn that Ark hasn't revealed this discovery to anyone else. Currently, there is no accurate way to measure ether. If Ark's device is proven to be reliable, it could be the discovery of the century. Ark excitedly and enthusiastically hopes that this could further mankind's understanding of magic. Clave asks him what he intends to do with this discovery, and Ark replies that he wishes to reveal it to the world eventually. Clave asks him to consider keeping this information to himself, but Ark reasons that there is more to gain from going public, as it would help the country as a whole. Clave, proud of his answer, gives him a friendly hair ruffle. His heart's in a good place. Clave tells Ark to keep this discovery a secret for now, but Ark asks if he can tell his friends. Clave looks at him funny, doubting that the little boy has any friends at all. With Clave's pledge of support, Ark's development on the ether thermometer goes along swimmingly. One afternoon, Ark casts magic in the courtyard to test the ether thermometer. To his delight, his refined product works perfectly. Clave is just as proud of Ark's accomplishment, boasting that Ark's name will go down in history. Ark admires his creation as he relishes in his feat, but after remembering the kidnapper who nearly captured him and Sue, he realizes that the world isn't as peaceful as he'd hoped it would be. He shifts his attention to finding a powerful spell that can protect him in a pinch. After racking his brain for ideas, he settles on the gun. There's no magic more powerful than the might of a 357 Magnum. Though admittedly lethal, Ark knows that this world won't pull its punches. He experiments with a bullet-based spell on a target dummy, but despite his specific choice of words, his spell flies slowly. The base of the spell, Black Bullet, were once magical stones used to shoot down large beasts in the spiritual age. Thus, Ark can only change the other portion of his sentence. Looking back at Sue's spell usage, he turns to the usage of words found in stories. However, he only ends up confusing and misleading himself more. He shifts his focus to finding a specific phrase that will help him recreate the lethality of a gun. Ark combs through the various texts that Clave has given him, and he finds his answer. Ark returns to the courtyard and begins chanting the new and improved incantation of his Black Bullet spell. This time, by invoking relevant texts and phrases, he is able to propel the Black Bullet at a frightening speed rivaling that of an actual gun. The magical world will tremble. Ark jumps after he hears loud clapping coming from behind him. Clave congratulates Ark on his cool-looking spell, but he moves on to more important matters. He introduces Ark to a sharply dressed man, whom he explains is his new attendant.